guys, my name is Rachel Basinger, and I was a reporter for the Daily Courier whenever September 11th happened. Clear back in 2001. This year is the 20th anniversary. I was the reporter that covered all of the events at the site as it happened. I remember going home the night before very late, working on a story. So whenever my boss called me at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was still sleeping. And she asked me if I had seen what had happened on the news, where planes had hit the Twin Towers in New York. And I hadn't seen it, so I immediately turned on the television, and actually, I'm not sure, I can't remember if I was still sleeping or if I had just gotten a bath. But one way or the other, I looked on the TV, I saw what was happening, and she had informed me that a third plane had gone down somewhere near us, and she needed me to go cover it, and they were thinking that terrorists had hijacked that plane as well. When she told me to do that I was going to cover it, I remember either I had just gotten a shower or I ran and got a quick 2-minute shower, because I remember showing up to work with my hair wet. But when she told me that I was going to cover that, I have to say that I was a little bit scared, because when you hear the word terrorist, you just never know what that entails. And at the time, we had no idea if the plane was still intact and there were survivors or not. So if there were survivors and they were the terrorists, what would that mean? Those were some things that going through my head. This was my first experience ever with a terrorist attack, and hopefully it's my last. I immediately called my sister, and she begged me not to go. She was worried for me. And also, at that point, I was to get married in just about 2 weeks. My wedding anniversary is September 29th. So, yeah, about 2 to 3 weeks. So I called my fiance at the time and told him what was happening. He also was worried, but told me that to be careful and that he loved me. So I went to the office and I met up with a photographer, and we rode up. We really just didn't know what to think as we were traveling there. I know one of our biggest concerns at the time was, besides possible worry of getting hurt, was just finding the place. Shanksville is a small area up towards Somerset, and probably not a place that somebody would go as a tourist for any reason at that point. So we finally found it. When we pulled up, there were a ton of news trucks everywhere. We were, it looked like already a little late to the party. There were so many news trucks there already. But when we got there, there was no information. They had us basically standing on one side of the road. I think it was after lunch sometime. It could have been before lunch. It's, like I said, been 20 years, so it's hard to remember all of the concrete details. But I remember that there was a guy that pulled in on a side road. So we were standing here as the press, and there was a side road right here, and a truck came and pulled in there. It was kind of like a lane, and all of a sudden all these people crowded around him. And so I asked the photographer, what is going on? What is going on with that guy? So we ran over, and somebody said he had the first pictures of the crash site. He was kind of had his door open, but he was standing on the ledge of his, truck, like before you step up into it. So he was in his truck, but he was out of his truck, and he was trying to show the pictures. But there were just so many people, and they were all screaming questions at him, and turn the pictures this way, what is this a picture of? But it was so crowded where we were specifically that he got back in his truck and just drove way far back that dirt lane. I remember the media, even myself, just started running after him. I was running so hard I actually lost my pager that was clipped onto my side. So when we got back there, he did show us pictures of the site. It was very anticlimactic because it was just a big black burn spot. The plane had um, disintegrated on impact, pretty much. There were hardly any, I didn't see one big piece of anything. It was crazy. I would have never expected a plane that crashed to just basically disintegrate. Um, After that, later in the evening, we finally, the press were allowed to go to the crash site. They actually bussed us up. We were not allowed to go on our own. They allowed us to get on buses, and they took us up to the crash site, which was back in a field, but it was along, like, there was a tree line and then a field, and the plane had crashed kind of right where the field met the tree line, and kind of back into the tree line. But when they bussed us up, they didn't allow us to go past a line, and the line was so far away that we actually saw the crash site better from the pictures that the gentleman had brought. It was just basically looking at nothing. It was just a big black spot in the field. So that was the first part of the day. My day consisted of driving around, trying to talk with neighbors, anybody who had seen, heard anything, knew anything, state legislators, federal legislators would come to the site throughout the week to give us briefings and press conferences. There were press conferences held at Seven Springs. There were press conferences held there where at the site where the media had all set up. The Salvation Army was there to take care of, I don't know if they were thinking there could be survivors or not, or if they were there to take care of all the media and people that were there that might not drink enough, or might get dehydrated or just need some food. But they were there to help, because the Salvation Army is always there when there's a crisis. So it was a very somber week. It was an interesting week for a young journalist. I believe I was 24 at the time, to participate in something like that. Yeah, I was probably up there for about a week or two. I remember going to a facility where the pieces that they were recovering, the coroner, the pieces that they were recovering, plain pieces, if there were any bones or whatever that they were recovering, and kind of just using that as, like, I don't know if it was a VFW or what the building was, I can't remember, but basically it was just a makeshift site where they took all of the evidence and were studying it. So I remember that the black box was a big issue. Everybody wanted to know if the black box had been found so they could understand the flight pattern. I remember that there was a cry of one of the passengers who were trying to overtake the terrorists, and his battle cry that they could hear on a recording was "Let's roll," and that kind of became a theme or an anthem for our nation, to fight back, or to let's do what we have to do for our country. And I have to say, at the end, during that week, in months to come, everybody was so patriotic. Everybody was so loving and kind to each other. Everybody was praying and for each other. And it's sad that in today's society everybody seems to be divided, but at that moment in time, our country and the people in our country really pulled together. I have a few pictures here that I thought I would try to show you, but my assistant here, are these in the frame? Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So tell me if I move, buddy, if you can see it.
Yes, I definitely
Okay.
can.
So these are some pictures of former Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, this is Cordell Stewart. He was the quarterback. The Steelers came to Somerset for a prayer vigil at the end of the week. The coach, the Steelers, like so many people. It was like a remembrance service and a prayer vigil for our country. And so that is one of the Steelers. This is a picture of just a part of the massive amounts of media personnel who were there on site throughout the week just to find out information. They were from all over. They weren't just local media. There were people here from New York, people here from London. There were people here from just everywhere. So all trying to get the news source. There were police presence on site. There was a police presence on site, and they were on horseback. This was a flag that was on the Somerset County Courthouse building during the prayer service. Here's some pictures of the big media trucks that were on site. Let me see what else I have here. Here is a picture of Coach Bill Cowher at the time for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you can see Mr. Rooney, the Steelers owner, there. These were some legislators that were involved in a prayer service and a press conference. The same. And here's a picture of the Salvation Army. Can you see this still, buddy?
Yes, I can.
Truck that was there to offer aid. This was a press conference at Seven Springs. This was the prayer remembrance service at the Somerset Courthouse. More press. Basically, this is what we did all day if we weren't out trying to get a story. We're just sitting around waiting for the next press conference. More media trucks. And this was a board of well wishes and prayers at the prayer vigil. This was me with a reporter. This is me, and this is a reporter from the Sunday Times in London. She rode along with me to a lot of places because she didn't know the terrain or the area, and she rode along with me to ask her questions of neighbors and whoever else as well. The sign was up there. And yeah, that's about it, the Salvation Army truck. I have not been back to the site since I was there reporting on the tragedy. It's almost like it's just not the same, and I don't know if I want to remember it the way that it was when I was there, or if I just don't want to remember, so I don't go. But yeah, I think there was a lot of I guess you didn't realize it at the time, but it was a very emotional experience, and you know, a lot of good people lost their lives on those planes, and this is the 20th anniversary to remember their lives and to remember that our country stands for freedom. And I hope you guys are having a good time, and thanks for letting me come talk to you today. Can you push stop, buddy?